What do you think about the next generation? What scares you about the next generation in production agriculture? What excites you about the generation that's behind you in production agriculture? I'm asking this generation of agricultural professionals, my friend Temple Rhodes, Miles of XtremeAg, and our sponsor and friend Tommy Roach of Nachurs. What excites you? What scares you? And what do you think about the next generation coming up behind us in agriculture in this episode of The Granary? On a farm, the work's never really done. We're calling the day anyway, because my friends from XtremeAg are coming over. You ready for a conversation with some real farmers about real issues? And the best part, you're invited. So pour yourself a drink, grab a snack, most importantly, pull up a chair. Welcome to The Granary. Hey guys! All right, so we got to ask the question. We're at that age. All of us are in our 50s, and you're starting to have your buddies say things like, well, these damn kids and all that. I don't do that. I think there's screw-ups in every generation. I think there's overachievers in every generation, and also there are differences between the generations. When you look at what's coming behind us in agriculture, you're from the production side, you're from the ag supplier side. What do you see that excites you? What do you see that concerns you? What do you see that you're still kind of pondering?
I can't wait for this.
Can it be?
I mean, literally, you've worked with all of our kids.
I get it. Can be.
That's wrong.
It can be every emotion that you can imagine. Happy, sad, scared. Few cuss words in there, but I mean, it goes back to. So none of my kids are in ag. They're 5 kids, and they're totally different. One's a nurse, one's in supply chain, one's in IT, one's in restaurant hotel management, and one's in fashion design. Nothing
fairly disparate from agriculture.
And, a few of them tried to do the chemistry side, but they didn't like that. But we often say, or at least I do, I mean, you give electronics to 5-year-old, he can figure it out faster than I can.
That's true.
So data-wise, technology-wise, they are much more equipped. And maybe I'm putting words in y'all's mouth, but they are much more equipped than any of us sitting at this table.
Agreed. Better than all 4 of us combined with their proficiency with new technology, particularly of the data, electronic, et cetera.
Absolutely.
You've got 5 kids. You've got 3 kids. He's got 5 kids. I'm childless, but I work with a lot of different organizations, so we all have these opinions. When I opened that topic, you probably said, oh boy. Because you always say that, oh boy, this could be interesting. Why'd you say, oh boy, this could be interesting? What was your first thought? The fear, the excitement, the swear words?
Well, my first thought was 50, because we're all in our 50s. So 50 years ago was our 50-year-old parents sitting around here having this same conversation we're about to have. Maybe, probably, to some point, you always think it's worse than what it was.
Yep.
But, I'm nervous. And Lane and I talk about this all the time. I label him as a millennial. He don't like to be called that.
He thinks millennial is a negative term?
He thinks millennial is a negative term because of the work ethic and that goes into that term. So when I introduce him as a millennial, and I do it on purpose to kind of halfway piss him off, you can see him sit there and look at me. Now, is he a, anomaly to that generation? I don't know. But what we've seen so far, in my opinion, is the work ethic of that generation is not the work ethic of our generation. But you know what? I don't work as hard as my dad did.
I'm going to disagree with that a little bit. You take the millennials, there is definitely a different work ethic, but the problem is where it used to be, where it was an even plateau. Now it's like extreme work ethic and low work ethic. And it seems like there's nothing in between. But what's in between is where they're much better at us than what we ever were, is research. Man, they've got research at their fingertip, and they do a very, very good job of researching stuff. Because when I need something researched, I don't look it up myself. You don't either.
I just learned how to Google. Now, I've learned how to Google.
Are you serious?
In the last 2 years,
You're not very extreme. Get out.
I can Google anything Lane can Google. Now, I can't play I used to play the football games on and today there's too many buttons. I can't do that.
All right. So Matt's talking about his Mattel handheld electronic toy from 1979.
Ask him about
Those
his
were great
combine.
games,
Ask
though.
him about his combine that he just tried
I want to, before
and what he thought about that.
I love the idea that we're getting into his combine, but I want to get into the thing about the generational thing. And I'm certainly, people probably think I'm kind of harsh, because I have my personality. That thing of these kids don't work, I'm not sure I buy into that. Tommy just named 5 children, and every one of them is gainfully employed, and from everything from healthcare to fashion to whatever. I think that's a cop-out that every generation has said about the group behind them. To that end, I'm not working nights on the railroad like my dad to feed 9 kids, so I work differently. I don't know that I work less necessarily.
They work
Like you work harder, you work smarter, not harder.
the generation now works different. I'm not saying they don't work as much, but they just work different than we're all used to. And so therefore we tie it to, we say because of history that they don't work as hard as we do, but they just work different.
Well, it was just, look at the way our fathers worked. They worked with their hands. There was a lot more manual labor than what we're having to do. You know what I mean? And Dad's always told me that. He was like, You don't know what work is. I tell my sons that. Yeah. You don't know what work is. Let me tell you about what I did. Mm-hmm. Well, it doesn't matter. They're using their brains much differently. Here's a question. So, Matt, you and me, and then Tommy too, our fathers, what do you think they would have said at this table versus what we're saying about our sons and daughters at this table?
That's what I was saying earlier. Almost the same thing.
Do you think they're saying the exact same thing? I personally think that my hope for my children is a lot stronger than what, I'm not saying that my parents, my father, whoever had, bad hope for me or whatever. I just think that with the technology and with everything that's up and coming and the different things that we're doing and all these new opportunities that are coming, the opportunities that are being thrown at our kids are very, very different than the opportunities that were thrown at us. And I have a lot more hope for them than I feel like that our parents ever had for us. I'm not saying that I think that our parents wanted us to fail, but the opportunities weren't there. And as long as the kids are willing to open up the door when opportunity knocks, they have a lot of opportunities. Open up the door, because agriculture is going somewhere and it's going in multiple different directions. Tommy just used 5 different places.
Tommy just what? Sorry. I was trying to wait till he got through, but he won't quit.
Tommy just got through talking about how his kids are in all these different things. Well, all 5 of them things that you just named, Tommy, you can all tie them up back to agriculture if you really want to. And you don't have to go that far.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're all tied back.
All right. So I asked a question, and we talked about some differences, and I think that a lot of people watching are going to say, yeah, I kind of agree with that. But what excites you or what scares you? I asked what scares you. I don't know that I have. My one thing is not scare, it's probably concern. And all my dealings with the generation that's maybe like 20 years old right now, they're terribly non-confrontation to the point that I believe that it's bad for their future to be so passive. Is that something you've observed?
I'll go. So I think generation today is handicapped on being able to communicate.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everybody has a friggin' iPhone.
Yeah.
And this is how they communicate.
It doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they communicate differently or worse.
And it goes to what you just said about confrontational. It's easy to push people's buttons or say what you want to say on an iPhone.
Yeah.
But to actually get in somebody's face and say that they have no skills.
And we're not talking about trying to get any physical altercation.
Right.
But it could be, I have a different opinion because of my education, and you're going to do something in business that I want to say no, and here's why you can't.
Right.
I don't know that they can do that.
Well, and when you said that, I'm not afraid. And y'all may disagree with this, but I think there's not the seriousness of the task that there was in our generation, and especially our parents' generation. Whatever that task is, I'm going to do it from this time to this time, and then I'm done. If I'm not through, I'll worry about it the next day. where we grew up, if you're not through, you do it till you get through with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the seriousness of that specific task is not the same place. Now it's different. Maybe they work the same, maybe in the end the same success will happen. That's what concerns me more than anything.
What concerns you?
I think that my biggest concern is when you talk about the next generation coming, you know, Matt and I talked about this earlier on. If Matt and I made a mistake when we were up and coming, it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, it was a big deal, don't get me wrong, but we're talking about the money's just different. The risk is so bad now, the kids really can't afford to make a mistake.
Yeah, a stub or toe is probably one thing. If they do much worse than a toe stub, then it's talking about some pretty bad financial.
But I do want to say this, watching Lane. So there was a lot of sports events that I missed with my children during my life. And he figures out a way to make those. And I think in the end result, they're going to remember the fact that he was at their sports events. And I went to a lot of them, but some of them I missed. Even things with my wife, they're going to remember those things that he did with them that I probably didn't do with him. And that may be, you always want to do different than your dad did.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to raise my kids different than what my dad did me. And I think I see that some with him. You know, he'll make a special effort to do that. I'm like, you're going to do what?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm finna get off the planter and go.
Yeah, and you're saying that field's still not planted, but he puts there's a more of a concerted effort to obligate family time or personal time than maybe you would have, or certainly your father.
Yeah,
would.
and I thought I was a great family man, but compared to what my children are doing with their family now, I wasn't as good as I thought it was.
A symbol that scares you, concerns you. What excites you? You got what? Well, Madeline is 17 up to about 30, 27.
Yep. Alexander, you got Alexander, Little Temple, and you got Madeline, and all of them want to be tied to agriculture. What excites me is, you know, every child is very, very different in their personality, and you nurture them into the person that you kind of, let's not say no, because that's the wrong thing.
You said
you shape them. I'm terrible with the nurturing part. Let's say shape. With the help of my wife, we've helped shape these and mold these kids into something, and everyone has to be treated a little bit differently. The good thing for me is I've got one that's extremely mechanical, and he's the one that's hung out the most with me. I got one that's very operational, and I think that he can take a stance in the agronomy world, and it's very well needed. I mean, think about how many times that I have to rely on these guys. You know, if he can rely on himself a little bit more and make his own decisions, it would be great. And then you have one that can do a little bit of everything, but maybe take care of the financial part. If you have those three, that's a really powerful team.
Kelly's going to adopt because she's a cattle.
He's trying to get her out there. But you know what? All in all, think about this. What kind of value would there be for me to send her out there while she was in college for like 2 years as an intern? What happens if I sent her as an intern for 2 years to Kelly and sent her 2 years with Matt, and then she came back home to help run the farm? You don't think that wouldn't be power?
What excites you? Yeah. You hire people. You have at Nachurs, you've got college kids coming out, 23-year-olds. What excites you when you look at the generations behind us? Anywhere from 22 to 30. So
you didn't sound real excited.
Unfortunately, it's hard to find good help these days. And I think these two guys will tell you the same thing. You just can't find them because a lot of them don't care.
Well,
they want it handed to them. They don't want to work hard.
That sound like me.
I'm telling you, but I mean, we try to find good people to hire out of college, and you got to look a while.
Well,
unfortunately,
and COVID changed all this. So everything we were building up. You know, people don't even go to offices anymore. There's no such thing as a business meeting anymore. Everybody does it by Zoom. You know, Zoom, COVID changed us from face to face, as you said, where you had to go face somebody. So you're 25 years old, you got to go to the sales meeting, right? And meet you. Where after COVID, you sit on a Zoom and everybody talks about Zoom. You know, you may have on a tie and a coat and underwear. You know, it's just not the same world as
Sounds
it
like
was.
you've done this. I bet you he's
I
done
have
this.
never put on a tie and a coat and underwear.
But you have had a shirt on that said Nachurs probably in XtremeAg and no underwear.
Maybe shorts. Shorts. I always wear underwear.
I've done a lot
I'm
of-
not you, Temple.
I've done a lot of Zoom calls in my day, and sometimes I go without the shorts. But I mean, it's just you can only see from there.
But you see what I'm saying, though. COVID took what we're concerned about and multiplied that times 3.
Yeah.
And not just the young kids, but in people
too.
and older people.
I'm going to take it a step back. So, because I still have one in college, and pre-COVID, there were no classes. Maybe not no, but 90% of the classes were face-to-face. Maybe you had some that was online.
No.
Post-COVID, I guarantee you half the classes are face-to-face and the other half is still online.
But
And
this,
that
this
is
goes
a
back
detriment
to
to
why they can't get on the phone and have a conversation, but they will send a text message and act like Barney Badass, or they'll send an email or whatever, but they will not pick up the phone.
I agree.
I think the key is what he's got. The key is there's no face-to-face interaction anymore.
So,
I'll say, Lane, you need to check on
changed
this,
our
and he'll
culture.
do this, and I'll say, call him,
yeah.
talk to him.
So the risk of being the one guy here at the nursing home,
And I text bad too.
the one guy that's at the nursing home calling you out. We are sounding a little bit like we're grabbing. We're not, but it does come out of
Concern.
communication. Our concern about the people behind us, NAG, is their communication style is very different than our communication style. Their communication methods are very different.
That don't mean it won't work. Just
Right.
like Mr. Tommy said, it might still work. It's just a different way of doing business.
Did he call you Mr. Tommy just because you're older than him?
He is older than
I saw that.
It's a Southern thing. Temple, all right. Is the future of agriculture in good hands, better hands, worse hands, good hands with the people that are behind us in agriculture? You're your dad's age 30 years from now. You go out there and take a look around, and you got little Temple and Madeline, you got all of them, and then they got their kids. What do you think when you look at that picture?
The future of agriculture is extremely bright. These kids nowadays have more tools at their hands, and they've already been trained to research and use their fingers and go back and look at things, and it's all right at their fingertips. It's things that Matt and I, Tommy, we never had.
You didn't say Mr. Tommy either.
No, because I'm not, it's not a disrespect thing. It's more of a respect thing. We're friends, so I can just call him Tommy.
Tommy, is the future of agriculture in good hands? Is it in lesser hands? Is it in better hands? When you look at those that are behind you in agriculture, you've cultivated a career here. Yes, that was a cute little clever word. Cultivated a career here in agriculture. And how do you spell Granary again?
Not that way.
Not this way, yeah, for sure. It's got an I in it.
Look it up.
I did.
Dictionary.com. Future of agriculture. Better hands, worse hands, different hands for sure in the generations that are coming behind us in this industry.
So I will agree with Temple, but one caveat.
On the tools and the ability to use.
They do. They have so much more than what we had. One thing.
We're not saying that like they're spoiled. You're saying they just got the innovation. So
Right.
the innovation.
One thing that, and I'm the world's worst. We have to do a better job of teaching and letting our kids make mistakes. Because I'm the world's worst at, I'll just do it because I can do it in half the time. But letting them figure it out, go through the motions, but we've got to do a better job of teaching and passing on knowledge, because we're not going to be around forever. Our kids are going to be around longer than we are, so we need to pass on.
Can you start to use that with like me and Matt and like teach us?
It's a lost
and stuff?
cause.
Oh, okay. It's too late. I didn't know.
All right. So the future of agriculture and the generations behind us.
Yeah,
Which is more than one now. It's a couple of generations.
I would say all of the above, but this is what scares me more than anything.
Go.
You know, we talk about, what is it called? Cyber wars or cyber.
Yeah.
So my son can't read them out. He can get on Google and he can find directions somewhere. But if we ever get
over-reliance on technology.
if we ever get attacked and we lose our technology, where are these children going to be then?
Yeah. Of course,
That's my
They
problem.
better stay home.
Of course, the generation that use slide
You know how to fold
rules,
them out?
The generation that used slide rules would have said that about us with calculators.
That's true.
The generation that used abacus, the generation that used, drafting tables versus CAD and CAM design. So I think that that's not an invalid point, but it's been said before. Over-reliance on technology.
What if you went for 30 days without any computers, though? 30 days, where's our United States going to be if they're 30 days behind?
Yeah.
It's 20, 50, 100 years. Over just a 30-day period. Look at what happened during COVID, how far behind we got there.
Yeah.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I think you need a blend of where we're at. But like I said, 50 years ago, I guarantee you our fathers were sitting there saying the same thing.
Well, they did everything longhand, and you and I've joked that you're the one that's still in the computer. When your internet was down, which in McGee, Arkansas, it's down about 80% of the time, I think, because you go and grind the thing.
Yeah, you got to turn it.
And all that. You're the one that can work because you can still use a pen and paper.
I still have number 2 pencils at my desk.
I do too.
Do we sound like a bunch of old guys right there?
We are.
Or are we just seasoned enough that we think the next generation is going to be fine, but it's different? And
I think that we just need a mixture of both. And I think, honestly, the kids that are in agriculture, that's what excites me, because we do have a mixture of both.
We need more of them in ag. Absolutely.
Yeah, we are losing. We've lost farmers down. There used to be 2% down to what is it today? 1.5%, 1, less than 1. And we're losing kids that want to be in agriculture.
Yeah.
So we need them. If you agree with that, you know what? Send us a note. More importantly, maybe you got a young person. Maybe you are a young person. You want to come on this show. I don't know. Send me a note. Point is, I'm glad you pulled up a chair to the table here at the Granary, because we do this a lot. I sit with my friends like Matt, Miles, Temple Rhodes, and our sponsor right here, Tommy Roach. So you know what? Check out all the other great episodes of the Granary. We want you to be here. It's inclusive. It's real conversations, real farmers. Also, thank you to Tommy and Nachurs. Nachurs is the sponsor of this particular show, and also BioK. It's the technology that's in all their fertility products, and also now XtremeAg is the sponsor of BioK. Check out and learn more at nachurs.com. Until next time, thanks for being here. Join us back again at the Granary.